Today on Community Watch, our guest is Mr. John Druckenmiller, who is the enterprise editor of Rome News / Hometown Headlines. Always a fascinating guest. He knows what's going on in town. You'll enjoy the show, and Community Watch starts now. Welcome to Community Watch. I'm John Hershey, and my guest today, one of my favorite guests ever. I know it'll be an entertaining conversation, Mr. John Druckenmiller of Hometown Headlines. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Good to see you. You're too kind, my lean and mean friend.
Well, we'll see how that ends up. I don't know, but it's great to see you, and I don't know that I have ever asked you how you're feeling about the switch that you made from independent Hometown Headlines to part of the Rome paper. Is that
you're just coming in with the softballs, right? No, no hard stuff here whatsoever. I feel good. It's funny, we were talking off air about this, but it's been exciting. There have been wonderful partners, and I'm not being nice saying this. My contract expires on January 31st, so I have no boundaries to worry about, so to speak. They've been wonderful partners. Things have flown pretty well. I hope the readers and the viewers feel the same way.
Yeah. Because I know Hometown Headlines. How long were you doing that?
18 years.
18
We'll
years.
turn 20 and right when the contract expires. So.
Wow. So it was, for me, and I think many people, the place to go and get quick information. Do you feel like that's still pretty much true?
Pretty much, and I'll give you an example. As we're doing this, across the street from us here, the shrimp boat has closed.
What?
Yes, we're breaking. Do we have any ABC news sounders that you got to play here? Trying to do the da da da.
See, you're bringing news with you.
But it's funny, and it's a good example. I guess John Bailey and Severo got a tip on that, and so they were texting back and forth. I work mostly at home, and I got lucky and got a hold of Jeremy Duke, one of the partners, right away, and he went through. Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is they've been, they say they've been there 2 years. They're not made a lot of money, if any money at all, but it's been a struggle. I mean, inflation, food cost, staffing. But I guess they had a shipment due this week, and the shipment comes in with most of their stuff, with the exception of one thing: fish. How do you do a shrimp boat without fish? And I guess that was kind of the final straw. They kind of said it's time to. So there, Jeremy and his partner Tyson have Mellow Mushroom here, Mellow Mushroom in Cartersville, and Moe's Barbecue in downtown Rome. They have plenty to do, but I mean, those are more chain-based. This is more of an independent, and they said it's just time to close. So it's now on the market. They literally was listed this week also with Amanda King and Hardy Realty.
Well, that place has gone through some changes over the years.
Well, they bought it a couple years ago. Last people had it for 30 years. It was previously down at Central Plaza.
Right.
When we moved here 21 years ago. So they moved to the new spot, and it's funny, the example I was given with that. So anyway, we turned that around in 15 minutes. So we still have the speed and whatever, but it's a little bit of a different thing. I mean, from what I do now, my main thrust is a column twice a week called Around Town. It's on the editorial page, which gives us a little bit more license to, I hate the word editorialize. I mean, but we can have a little bit more fun. How's that?
Yeah.
But I mean, everything's fact-based. There's no whatever. And so it gives us a little bit more leeway with that, and it's done quite well. And I'll help out other issues and all, but I mean, that's kind of the main focus right now.
And accessible on Facebook.
It's Facebook now. We just did put Around Town behind a paywall. That just happened a couple of months ago. The feeling was it's premium content and being premium content, there should be a cost to come in. I, for a number of years, was very much anti-paywall. Now, not just because I've been purchased by a news group, but the understanding is that it's like you're paying your circulation to have that paper dropped in your mailbox or in your driveway. That's what a paywall is today. And I do concur. They got to pay me. They got to pay the staff. You got to pay, the whole whatever it is. If you don't charge for some of that material, how do you make that payment? Because I mean, the ads are not what they used to be in any business today. I mean, and you have to look at all your revenue streams. So I fought it, but I mean, doing a one-man show with Hometown Headlines or 1.5 with Natalie Sims was a great asset over the years. That was one thing we could make enough with support from our local businesses. But in an environment where you have an extended news family and extended news stuff, it's just impossible. Well, then again, Shrimp Boat is going to be our example of the day. The Shrimp Boat is basically independent, and the partners ran it as another part of their enterprises, but they don't have the corporate support and the corporate supply chain of a Moe's or of a Mellow Mushroom. They're dependent on whatever that truck, they order it, but I mean they're the low part of the totem pole where your seafood restaurants, the Captain D's of the world, are going to be your priorities. So I mean, it's kind of the same thing. If you're independent, you can manage a small mom and pop shop pretty, a little bit easier. You don't need the stringent cash flow. We were always very well supported and much appreciate that. Great advertisers. Nobody ever asked for favors or, well, I'm an advertiser, you better cover for me. Other way around. They understood your news. We get it. But again, for our group, for me, myself, and for a part-time partner, let's say, it was affordable. But in today's environment, it'd be tough to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I would not be doing Hometown Headlines today if I was independent still. That's more because of workload than anything else.
Right. And you mentioned before we started that the hours are more reasonable.
More normal. The old days it was 75 hours, mostly working a few days. Natalie would help me on the weekends, so I may get 24 or 48 hours off, and no whining. Don't get me wrong. I know it sounds like a kind of oh gosh, he's whining. Not at all. I mean, I got a kid through St. Mary's and Darlington and University of Georgia. We have a nice house. It's paid for, so no whine. It worked.
Yeah.
Put it like that.
Yeah.
Did I want my son to go through it? Oh, heck no. He's a civil engineer. And I always tell him, now that you're gainfully employed for the last month and a half, I'm going to live in your basement. You're not living in mine. So.
Well, I'm sure he took that well.
Oh, very well.
Yeah.
He's got an apartment, so he's smart. He's got
Well, I know that you have always been somebody, Shrimp Boat, I think, is going to make an appearance all through the show today, but to know things, whatever it is going on in the area. So I wanted to spend some time on what's happening now that you think is most important, most unusual, most vital for people to be aware of. I know there's interesting development around. I know there's some things going on with the city commission that I don't fully understand. So there's a lot going on.
There is, and we've always been blessed with that. Incredible sources. I mean, this town has been very generous in many ways to Hometown Headlines, myself, and the Rome News Tribune. The top story, and I'll tell you, this is kind of funny, and I'll make it a short story. In the last 36 hours, I bet you I have spent 4 to 5 hours alone on telephone calls with people just about general business. Kind of like somebody said, summer's over and it's time to reestablish all your news contacts or whatever it is. Every person I've talked to, 5 people in particular, 4 out of the 5, the dominant theme has been Rome City Commission, with number 2 being the changes in the healthcare, local healthcare market. Rome City Commission, though, by far, I mean, I'm talking about medical people, I'm talking about business people, I'm talking about clergy. I mean, it's what's going on with the city of Rome and the Rome City Commission. And the answer is it's a battle between two factions, and it's a shame. I mean, and I think both of them, and the thing is, both of them are very passionate. Both sides are very passionate. There's no doubt about that. Yeah. Both sides have goals. Unfortunately, it is Democrat or Republican. This is, of course, a nonpartisan board, but it is purely Democrat and Republican. Unfortunately, it's white and black, with one white person in the middle, and that is a person, conveniently enough, who is being investigated for ethics accusations because, quite frankly, he asked detailed questions at a meeting. You and I have been around long enough. I mean, I think we're kind of like the Muppet characters, Statler and Waldorf, or maybe the two old guys kind of passing judgment in the world. But I mean, I have been shouted at and screamed at and had things thrown at me by corporate executives in the newspaper world. I didn't file suit. I didn't file complaints. I mean, if I didn't like it, went home that night, hit my typewriter, put a resume in the mail the next day, and I was out of there in 2 weeks. But this stuff about the complaints on Cochran and all, you kind of look at it, you think, all this allegedly goes back to hurt feelings in planning or engineering or something like that. I'm sorry, but grow up, because people who live in Rome, I live in the county, about 2 blocks. You're looking at legal bills alone that are probably approaching $70,000 for this. For what? There's more to it. My guess, and I'll get argued as you may want equal time coming from somebody out there. It's politics. They want Cochran out because Cochran is truly a swing vote. He voted for Craig McDaniel for mayor, 3 years ago? Mm-hmm. He was a swing vote there. The next time out, he voted for Sunday Stevenson for mayor. So, but Mark has always been the kind of he'll go by the issue and not go by the party label. Well, people want a majority, and they think, well, get him out of there and get another Republican in there, even though it's nonpartisan. We have the 5-4 vote. We can do what we want to do. Yeah. So I think part of this is politically based.
Well, it's a shame, of course, that it's such an expensive endeavor. I mean, that piece of it alone is I mean, there has to be another way to settle it.
Absolutely. And even that is what caused, and I know we are a family broadcast here, we'll call it the BS session, where there repeatedly was that term dropped at a meeting because they were denying there was a settlement being discussed, and the attorney was given the green light to kind of see what that settlement is. Mm-hmm. But yet here comes a statement saying, we four will never settle. And Bonnie Askew, the city commissioner, was basically saying, no, we were in that meeting. What are you talking about? What is this piece of paper here? That's where all that came from. Yeah. So it's crazy.
What do you get the sense that it's near a resolution?
I think it's going to have to be. The most recent story is the attorney hired by the city to represent the city, the guy earning $300 an hour, okay, to hold the city's hand through all this, quit on Friday. He gave his notice on Friday. Well, actually before that, but the filings and whatever. I mean, the time frame's different there. But he's basically leaving the case. Mm-hmm. And so that puts it back where they got to go out and hire another external attorney, because the city attorney basically is disqualified, Andy Davis, because he represents not only the city of Rome, he represents the city commission as well. So he can't really be prosecuting his own guy, so to speak, and on behalf of the city. He can maybe do some minor court representation. So now you have your guy you've used for months out the door, and you got to start again, and yet there's a superior court hearing coming up in 2 weeks about this case. And the city basically lacks its hired gun to keep moving this case forward. Wow. It's a nightmare. Can it be resolved? We'll find out.
Well, we're coming up on our break. It seems like a good place to break. We'll be back with more from our guest, John Druckenmiller, right after this.
You belong at Georgia Highlands College. As a University System of Georgia college, GHC offers high-quality and career-focused instruction at a fraction of the cost, with over 40 programs to choose from, including 8 career-targeted bachelor's degrees, With small class sizes and personalized attention, our programs are designed to help you achieve your goals and make a positive impact in your community. So what are you waiting for? You belong at Georgia Highlands College.
Welcome back to Community Watch, and we're having a conversation with John Druckenmiller, and your title is still editor of...
I am they asked me when all this deal came down, what do you want to be called? Well, I'm an old Star Trek guy. So I said, call me Enterprise Editor. How's that? So what the title means basically, and part of it is not just doing the columns and helping out here and there, but also looking for maybe some other projects that we may be doing. But there's nothing, we're not trying to keep any secrets here, but there are things, we may do some podcasts again coming up or something like that. So
I like that though, Enterprise Editor.
Thank you, sir.
I like that. So we can start calling you Captain Druckenmiller. I think that would be appropriate.
Make an ensign or something. Engineering maybe, okay.
Well, so we may be finished talking about City Commission drama.
We could spend the next 5 editions of Community Watch talking about city, but I don't think people want to hear that.
No, I'm sure they don't. I certainly hope for the finances alone that it's resolved soon.
Well, in one sidebar on that, I guess people kind of think, why are you picking? We have a meeting set for tomorrow morning, as a matter of fact, talk more about this. Why are you harping on this? We're not. We're not the ones in those commission meetings. We're covering those meetings. I'm not one of these types. I don't want a city commission filled with people, what I call a bobblehead. I love Rome. I love Rome. I don't want that. I want people, like you said, asking questions. Your job is, you're representing this community. Ask the questions and ask the tough questions and get the right answers. If there's a backlog of projects coming out of a certain department, planning, engineering, whatever it is, get those folks help. Don't sit there and say, I want to defend the city. No, turn around and say, okay, you guys got a backlog? How many more people do you need? And reapply your resources, and let's get those projects moving. I mean, are we anti-growth, slow growth, whatever it is? If there's projects that are legally and ethically and deemed to be, a reward to the community, get them moving. If not, it's costing the city money because we're not getting that tax revenue coming in from the new property owners or the elevator or whatever. So I think everybody wants what's best for Rome, but unfortunately, I think there's been too much politics, too much egos. Let's just get back to centering on what's best for the community and move forward that way.
Yeah. All right, so you mentioned the other big story of the moment is healthcare related.
Yes.
So tell us about that.
A lot is happening we've had to have a column this morning about some of the changes in the healthcare community, but I think the biggest player right now is the Atrium Health / Harbin Clinic purchase. That deal came up, that was kind of the last. We saw Redmond be purchased by Advent. We saw Floyd be purchased by Atrium Health. Even in Cartersville Medical, which was also kind of a sister to the Redmond Hospital, purchased by Piedmont, a major player more out of Atlanta. So I've seen a lot of healthcare move in the last 2 or 3 years. Harbin Clinic was kind of the last prize. So, Harbin Clinic was pursued by Atrium, and, they wanted to bring that whole, however, I think they have 240 physicians. It's the largest independently owned clinic in the state. Major player in healthcare. I mean, they've always been kind of the middle, throwing all the Floyd and Redmond stuff back and forth. Everything competes in this town. Harbin's always been the base, always been kind of like, let's just come here and get medical care. Mm-hmm. Well, now they are becoming part of Atrium, and what surprises a lot of people, and us in particular, we're working on a story maybe for tomorrow, that even a few more physicians are breaking off. So you've seen 10 cardiac doctors leave. You've seen neurosurgery leave. I'm going to see Dr. John Cowan. I got my email last week saying he's not part of us anymore come August 30th. That is causing a lot of angst and concern. It devalues the deal. You think of each one of these doctors leaving. There could let's go ahead and say each doctor leaving the Harbin practice for Advent or wherever he or she goes. There may be a price of $1 million practice value per person on that. I don't know the numbers. We'll know those when this deal is all said and done. That will become a public record. But that's causing a lot of angst about what doctors are going where do the breakaway cardiologists open up? Well, it turns out they opened up in space right across from Redmond, right across from their old place at Harbin. But that's got the healthcare industry locally in a lot of flux right now.
The decision by so many doctors to leave, is it a bunch of different reasons?
I think part of it could be financial. Do they want to work? Some people are calling it corporate medicine. The sidebar to that is, well, was Harbin a corporation? And it's a business, yes. But do they want to be part of the larger Atrium? Of course, Atrium itself has now been purchased by somebody else. So there's actually another name on top of that one. Of course, yes, gone from Floyd to Atrium to whatever it is, Advanced or something like that. But some of them don't want to become part of that, and they don't want somebody in a corporate bean counter situation sitting there saying, well, you got to see X number of patients per day versus what you do right now. They lose, I guess some of them lose freedom. Some of them are worried about the revenue, their own revenue to that. Will they see a pay change? Some may see up, some may see down. I don't know. And we won't know that until we finally get a hold of the contracts. But I think that's part of it. I think a lot of them liked the ambiance, I guess, of Harbin Clinic. A lot of them are very much patient focused. I'm not saying Atrium isn't, but it's a little bit different with Harbin. I can go in there and see Dr. Brad Bushnell or somebody else about a knee shot or something like that, and we'll spend 15 minutes talking about where our kids are doing, who's Bo's doing this, and Sarah Beth's doing this, and Jack's doing this, and I think they're afraid of losing a little bit of that too. But mostly it's going to come down. Everything's money, even in medical, even with people you trust. But I think a lot of them thought, some of those folks thought that this may not be the right deal for them. It's not what they signed up for when they joined Harbin 10, 12, 15 years ago. Harbin, on the other hand, do you pass up this deal? Heck no. I mean, I'd be a hypocrite. I mean, I just sold my business, a year and a half ago. I mean, I'm now part of a smaller corporation. I think Harbin got a pretty good pitch made. And, Harbin is a partnership of the doctors and others, and I think they wanted to do what they thought was best for the company. And they thought best for many of the players. As in any organization, some of them disagree. And I think that's what we're seeing now with these breakaways. So we're tracking one, maybe two more groups that may go out. No, it's not official. We haven't got official wording yet. It is coming from some of the players involved that, there is another breakaway coming up. What will be there when that deal is finally signed between Atrium and Harbin, I don't know. There'll be a bunch of it. I mean, there's not, we're still talking about under 10% of the people involved here.
Right. So it's a stay tuned kind of situation.
Oh, yeah. Our whole year has been like kind of stay tuned.
Well, what else? We have a few minutes left in the segment. So what are some of the other things that people can be looking for developing in our area?
Well, the upcoming, and I always call these things extra penny sales tax, others call them a SPLOST, but that is going to be a big vote in November. We're looking at, I think, $110 million over 6 years, varying projects. We have people who are pro, of course, and your governments want it because, let's face it, it is a different kind of tax. We're not burdening property owners. We're burdening people, your daily sales plus visitors. So that's kind of more of a shared or fair tax. Some of the projects are way under attack. The City Commission, once again, is very split. They have approved it. They had to move forward by a 5-4 vote. It's now going to be put on the ballot. I mean, you can start getting your ballots for November 7th, I think, in 2 weeks now. So it's got to be put on the ballot. But there's people who don't in the City Commission who don't like. They wanted the water park. They wanted facilities extended to the Chulio Hills area, water stuff and all. And some of those things didn't make the cut, even with a 6-year tax. I live off Chulio Road. The Chulio Road improvements have been included, but that was part of the extra year, the 6th year, not part of the 5-year plan. So yeah, watch that SPLOST vote. There's some division in the city, and if a city's divided, SPLOST will be in trouble in November.
Can we mention some of the pieces that are most controversial or disagreed about?
I'll give you an example. Bill Collins, of course, Bill wanted that $20 million water park. It never made a cut.
Right.
The water lines to Chulio Hills, I'm not quite sure what the cost was on that. That didn't make the cut. A new city police department, I believe the number is $20 million. I think that is included. Some other projects like that. Economic development has 2 or 3, maybe 4 key pieces here for funding and purchasing and running. You've seen that big development we're doing outside of Cartersville, the electric vehicle battery plant. Well, the county and the development authority wisely purchased a lot of property in east side of our area. Well, someone's got to provide sewer and water to that. So I think part of the infrastructure is included in this SPLOST package as well, to run it from, say the bypass on 411 out to maybe a little less than that. I'm not sure the exact distance involved there. That's part of this plan as well, and that's getting some heat. Why would somebody be opposed to running water service or whatever services to Chulio Hills? The reason most likely is going to be developers are saying we had to pay our own way when we did our developments. Are they paying their own way? Why are we using SPLOST dollars when we had to use private money to develop, Woodfin or whatever it is? So that's part of the issues there.
Yeah. Well, what about things going on in the downtown area?
There's always something. The most exciting thing that I've heard going downtown, not in my opinion, but in reader reaction, how about a ramen noodle restaurant? Blew us up. I mean, the numbers just jumped there. About it will go into where 333 on Broad or Rome City Brewing used to be, Jay Shell's old place. That's where they're going to put some kind of a ramen noodles thing, and I mean, people can't get enough of it. And in a way, it's a great idea because you got Yummy Thai downtown, you got Rock and Roll Sushi downtown. This is a different spin on both of those, so it's just something different downtown, a different kind of thing. There's always something happening downtown. I mean, you look around at some of the restaurants. I mean, you got the Partridge is back on the market yet again. We thought that was going to become a redeveloped and more of a show area, kind of like when it was. I guess years ago it was the Gordon Theater.
Right.
The thought was that would be restored to more of a theater-based operation, from the restaurants and everything else. Well, now the owner is going to focus on something else downtown, so he put that back on the market. So will that come back as a restaurant? I mean, everybody still talks about missing downtown breakfast and meat and threes. So who knows? It may come back.
Well, the idea that theater might be renovated is not the right word, but back in service.
Yep.
Was really intriguing.
I thought it was a great idea.
Yeah.
I mean, we had the DeSoto, which is gorgeous. They've done a fantastic job. But can we use something else? Maybe a smaller venue. Would it be a better music venue or something? They did have 1 or 2 functions there under the current ownership, the new ownership. Wasn't big, wasn't well played up. It was more of a corporate function actually. But apparently did very well. And they found some of the old things, the old theater stuff in the background. Do we need another restaurant downtown? Who knows? Do we need another restaurant? I mean, we're still seeing crowds lined up in the hot, 95-degree weather to get inside Jim and Nick's right now. I mean, the people are shrugging off, mid-afternoon heat, waiting for that 4:30 opening time to get in Jim and Nick's. So, do we need more restaurants? People seem to go to them.
Well, we're close to being out of time, but maybe you could come back and we could just talk restaurants.
Oh, trust me.
Because I know you enjoy writing sort of mini reviews.
Well, it's
of
kind
new
of
places.
Occupational hazard. Yeah.
But I find those that business very interesting. Anyway.
Oh, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I totally.
Well, thank you for being on the show. It's great to see you, and it's always great to hear what's going on, and I hope you can come back soon.
Be glad to. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you for being with us on Community Watch, and we will see you next time. Bye now.